cost, value, and optimal performance. These are the new pillars of successful organizations. How does e-commerce relate to these values? How can we uphold these values through e-commerce?
You know, part of the dot-com world has been prior to the market change was radical owning of the eyeballs. That's another Siliconese term. It's the loyalty established by communities and being a trusted place where people could buy books or could go to the mall or could participate in an auction. That world is now shifting to profit and loss, and having still trusted communities of interest. So e-commerce today is not only about having an understanding of customer needs, because everything today in the dot-com world revolves around, it's a Copernican view of the customer. That it's not, I'm the business and you'll come to me because we know you want to buy our refrigerator. You're the customer and you have a lot to select from. So the more value we can provide you, the more understanding we can glean from you of your needs, the more you're going to come back to us. And public institutions are seeing this with learning, so that the student becomes the center of the universe, not the institution. And governments are trying to get their arms around the idea of an e-citizen care, or a Copernican view of the citizen, so that the citizen is really the place that transactions and commerce should revolve around, and making that all available and understanding citizen needs. So today, e-commerce is really based on quick and easy, secure transactions, but really having a trusted loyalty, so that you go back to those sites, they're refreshed based on your needs. And we're seeing, it's like My Yahoo. My Yahoo is a place that you customize to your personal needs. You can select which stocks you're going to look at. You can select what sort of news. Every time you open up your browser, that's your personal page. Now we're seeing where governments are wanting to say, MyGov. So you open it up, it illuminates with the planning and zoning issues, the new regulations in whatever business you're in. In the next stage for universities that they're struggling for is My University. My SDU. That it's really it's a way for a student to obtain a loyalty with its university, knowing that it's going to push information to them from not only their areas of interest, but maybe other universities' contribution to that learning pool.
So we are personalizing these services, but at the same time we live in a global economy, a global world. How important it is for us to network or work in collaboration with other people?
The speed in which all of these tools have been placed on people's desktop, in their pockets, around their ears, in their bathrooms, you can't escape it anymore. I think that the proliferation of the devices have sort of overwhelmed regular people and professional, technical people. There are more ways to get a hold of me today than I'd like to really enumerate. But the idea of those things becoming more converged and integrated will allow more of those communities of interest to truly take place. One of the things that we're seeing that the new web phones, the new wireless web-capable phones are being used for, that they are tools to allow managers to give quick approval of, say, e-procurement, when an employee wants to take a trip and it needs approval from a manager, the rules of the application, if somebody puts a travel request online, it'll immediately ping or notify the manager, and the manager just has to say yes. And so the approval process is instantaneous. There's no no longer, it used to be maybe a 3 or 4 day turnaround. Now, and then with just traditional email, it may be a 2-day turnaround, but now it's expected within a 2-hour turnaround. These devices, when they will truly be integrated, the kind of cognitive landscape that's going to open up for business leaders, for staff, will, I think, transform the way we look at the world. It truly will be a web sphere.
And you just related to my next question, and that is that how interconnected and interactive are these networks at this point?
There is a lot of interconnectivity and a lot of intercompatibility, I guess, or just plain compatibility. And partly that is our message. Cisco has a culture. It's interesting. Part of the answer to your first question about what's made Cisco successful, it focuses on ethics. It focuses on an e-culture. And an e-culture is one that says there's no, that we're not religious about technologies. We want to promote whatever solution works well for the customer. And the part of the culture, too, is customer satisfaction. The point behind that is that we're going to see more interconnectivity, because part of what we talk about is open standards, having networks that are capable enough, are capable to interoperate with each other in terms of IP networks, where you can have integrated voice video data. And then it's the solutions that run on top of it. It can be e-procurement. It can be travel. It can be customer care. It can be collaborative tools. And the new e-learning modules that I've actually participated in, they are fantastic. We don't see them in the in children's or our desktops at home because the bandwidth's not there yet. Once those last mile bottlenecks are broken through, we are going to see, and I'm an old distance educator. Right. I know that it's not proper to be a techno-evangelist, because a lot of the old promises they fulfilled, but not quite as well as we anticipated.
And what is the image of the future for Cisco? What Cisco envisions for the future of the internet? Wireless connectors with satellites? Are we going to be working on cable, fiber optics? Could you elaborate on the future?
I think, it goes back to convergence. It's going to be whatever works the best in the region. The Cisco mantra is changing the way we work, play, and learn. And those actual kind of overall goals that's the vision of the future. When you can integrate all those different modes of connectivity, when people have the ability on their browser, and that's the one key thing to this. That's why the web revolutionized things. And it's pretty interesting. The web is only about 2,100 days old, and we've seen all this happen. What's going to happen in the next 2,100 days? We don't know, but we do know that when these tools that we are using today, like IP telephony, internet phones that you just plug in, and on the phone is a screen that not only it tells you who you're talking to, but it can give you a little profile of the company in which you're trying to do business with. Or the person on the other end of the line can say, do you see option 3? That's ordering a birth certificate. Do you want a duplicate birth certificate? Push number 3. This kind of inner capability that's going to propel society into a new stage of collaboration, knowledge sharing, and I think our children are going to be the recipients of the knowledge age.
Thank you, Dr. Badger, for joining us today, and thank you for sharing these fascinating ideas with us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
We will now continue with the second question and answer session. Our first question comes from Mexico City. Go ahead, please.
Muy buenos días. Good morning. Thank you. We're calling from CETIS number 3. According to the changes of economies and technologies, in what way will the population that has very little income benefit in the underdeveloped countries? Thank you.
The question of technology and less developed countries, who would like to take that?
I think one of the things, the digital divide today is expressed over who has personal computers and connectivity and who doesn't. I think that there is a lot of emphasis on trying to bridge that digital divide. One of the things that I think any country can benefit from is the reduction of bureaucratic red tape and the inefficiencies that go along with not having some of the tools in place that can actually speed government along a little faster, make it move in a way that's more meeting citizen needs. So you can have governments who can put into place the way they acquire supplies, say tires for trucks, that kind of electronic procurement of supplies that come into the government can cost citizens less. So in other words, it can reduce the administrative side of services of government while services actually get richer. And I think that is an immediate sort of benefit when you're not talking about trying to provide a PC or a personal computer to everyone's home. Governments actually can take advantage of some of the network solutions by reducing the cost of running the government while increasing the services simultaneously.
If I may add, I think that's a real issue and something I'm personally concerned about. Social work, as a social worker training, I know that most of the people who are utilizing your social services, utilizing frankly the governmental services, are people who are on the lower end of the economic spectrum within your countries, within our country. I think it's a larger picture, this whole issue of the digital divide is a larger picture. I think the issue has to do with countries taking responsibility for raising educational levels, for raising literacy, and then the technology follows. For instance, you can buy a computer, a web access computer for $300. In fact, you can get them for free now if you sign up for internet service provision. So the technical side is not to me, the technical side is not the issue. The issue is the social side, is the issue of education and literacy.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Sur, Baja, Mexico, or Baja, California, actually.
Buenos días. Our question is the following. Good morning. The corporate universities in the United States are proliferating, definitely. It is a very similar situation here in Mexico with the private universities. In that regard, it is my experience, or in the experience of the expert speaker. What are the state universities doing in the United States? Are they already seeing the Internet and its use as a useful tool to capture more students, in other words, more clients?
Well, maybe I can jump in here. I follow the news, and the reality of the situation is that in the United States, the number of students are increasing at a rapid rate. We call that the baby boom echo. And so the public universities are actually do not need to do marketing at this point because they are inundated with the baby boom echo.
I think that's true. It's a matter of the private universities are looking to increase their student base, and so they have been more aggressive as far as online education.
There are two models that actually people are working with that I've seen. One is developing a my learning kind of concept, so that their student is not strictly married to one institution, but institutions that are seeing this as the new learner-centric model are trying to find relationships with other universities who meet that specific student's needs. So an engineering school, today's engineering student may also have an interest in Shakespeare. So they're finding liberal arts courses that can actually be delivered to that one learning institution's portal that says we are trying to meet your full academic need by not being totally restricted to whatever the curriculum is in this one university. The other area that people are looking at is reducing the cost of overhead again. One chancellor told me that we want to demonstrate market share, market differentiation to parents who are paying their thousands of dollars for tuition by showing that that money is going into their children's head, not into overhead. And they see that as a way, by using some of the new solutions today, to demonstrate they've reduced the size of overhead while growing the quality of knowledge that's going into their children's head.
And we turn to Tijuana again for our next question, and that is directed to Dr. Badger. Governments are notoriously slow in implementing change, and can governments really make those changes that you alluded to in your presentation happen? Can we expect the citizen to be served by the .com component?
Well, it is a problem where, you know, the institutionalization of certain processes and the bureaucratic processes that have been put into place for maybe old reasons, or at least people who put things into place really have no incentive to change. You know, one of the arguments is that we know exists is that people are really focused on other things right now. They're focused on commerce. They're focused on knowledge. They're focused on part of the novelty of the network. At some point, there are going to be questions asked of government leaders. And those questions will be, are we taking advantage of best practices today? Those things that are driving the new economy. Are we using them in government? You mean we've avoided, where we're ignoring some of the savings that we could immediately see if we were to put in a certain solution? Those questions aren't really dogging or you know, hounding or pestering politicians today. But there will be a point when citizens start asking questions. So bureaucrats or government leaders, let's say that, the people who represent the public, they see that this is that these solutions are not false, that they're third generation, they're powering the new economy, they're ready for prime time, as we say. And those things can't be ignored. So they're trying to find a way to get buy-in from parts of the public servant unions and agency employees to help design how they could make changes within an organization so that they can represent to the citizen that they can change, that they can rekindle faith that government is able to change. And some forward-leading leaders are saying that this is a worthy task. They also know that information technology is a politically attractive issue right now, and that the more that that politicians can say, I've taken this challenge on, I'm demonstrating change, government's getting better, that there's some political capital to be made from that.
And we are ready for a question from Brazil now. Go ahead, please.
Okay. First, congratulations to ITC for the conference. And the question goes to Dr. Golden. Dr. Golden, what kind of measures are being taken related to the safety of payments through the web, Internet?
There are programs that are being developed, and I'm not a technician, so I can't speak directly to that. But there are certainly, it is being addressed directly, and it is being addressed at the very highest levels because it is the #1 concern of not only government but commerce as well.
I should just add, too, that Cisco has $36 million. They do all of the orders that are placed worldwide come through the web. And it's interesting because the orders are placed on the web. There's about $36 million a day that are transacted over the web. And then those orders, we don't have warehouses of products. They then go out to the manufacturers. And the manufacturers complete those orders and then send them to a delivery station. So there's an awful lot of commerce that's taking place on the web today. In credit cards, there are very few real frauds. 96% of the transactions are all safely handled. We hear about maybe the 2 or 3 or 4% that somehow get bungled.
Thank you. And we go to Lima, Peru for our next question. Go ahead, please.
This call is from the National Assembly of Directors. Our countries, developing countries, where all these technicians, web developers are, and all these resources are certainly very limited. What are the prospects regarding tools? Can you help us both for safety in order to develop ourselves that would help us optimize our performance? And so also we'd like to hear a little more about the interesting initiative and what you are developing for the network and its associates, and we'd like to hear some more about the ITTC initiative. Thank you.
Okay, some of the tools and some of the means. How do you go about getting? It's the age-old question that we have at this university as well.
Algunas de las herramientas. Bueno, la parte del ITTC voy a comentarla yo. Está en su.
We are depending upon yourselves to help us with that and to provide feedback. And I wanted to mention a way during the break. There was a question how to contact me about more information about ITTC as we develop. If you would like to, you can fax me through Maria Luisa del Castillo, and she will give me the information. Her fax number is 619-594-2286. So I can get you more, if you express your concern or your interest more specifically, I'll be glad to respond. Maria will help me with that. Do you want to speak to the security, more about the security issue? Or?
Well, at the first part of the question is interesting too, where how should we get started? And I think the idea of starting with things that are of importance, like you're suggesting, like the caller suggesting, that training and knowledge growth, working with universities, this is a great example, this whole program, of how you can bundle. This is an example of convergence, where you're converging, video conferencing with broadcast, with knowledge deliverers, participating with students and their knowledge. So all these things have a way of prioritizing themselves and then kind of pushing on the institutions to say we ought to be capable of doing more of these things. Now, Cisco, the security issue is one that seems, Cisco has a strong interest in what we call virtual private networks, things that protect and channel traffic so that they're at the highest standards, so health records, for example, can be encrypted and not decoded until the health care provider, the doctor, actually says, let's decode this and take a look at a health record. So you can contact Cisco in your area. Just ask for a Cisco representative to give us a call at the Internet Business Solutions Group. We can maybe help with some organizational issues and try to put down on paper what some of your desires are, and then see what the infrastructure is capable of in your country, and think about brainstorming how some services could actually be enhanced and delivered. It's an exciting prospect, but the most effective things come from the heart and soul, and not just the mind. So when people think about and know, and just from the core, that there ought to be changes, there ought to be a new way to deliver services, then that actually can see some of the biggest stimulation for making change.
Great. Our next question comes from Cancun, Mexico. Go ahead, please.
Buenos días. What would be the strategies to be followed if you want to present an educational proposal for a program, an internet-based program? Are programs, students? What would be the proposal? What would be the suggestions for a business plan for an online or educational program?
I think we all have experience in that. I think, if I may,
Sure.
I think the primary thing is you need to have the support of your chief executive officer, and not, frankly, just in, this is a nice idea. He or she needs to be there with financial support with staff, and your academic senates need to be involved. So we start realigning some of the reward systems in universities to support the online program, so it isn't just a research and publication and as the basis for promotion. The administrators need to be educated a bit in terms of online education. Often they see it as a cash cow. They see it as a way to make a lot of money, to offer these giant courses with one professor. Well, we've learned that's not the case. They are incredibly time intensive. They're very expensive in terms of intellectual capital. The one university I teach for online, they limit the enrollment to 15 students per instructor. That is not economically, that's not how you're making a lot of money. So let me just stop with that piece, and I'll just hand it off to.
But we have a kind of a model of what makes a net-ready organization. I think you can apply it to higher ed, you can apply it to government or even business. Particularly business, since it grew out of interviewing the top 500, 1,000 Fortune companies. And it's broken into 4 things, and it resonates with what Dr. Golden has pointed to. You have to have leadership, which means articulating a vision that you're going to be into it. The highest, the chancellor, the president, the CEO has to say, we are committed to making some of these initiatives work. There has to be governance. In other words, those warring tribes have to be brought together, often in tribunal councils, and often that occurs at the academic senate in a university. There has to be technology in place. In other words, is the infrastructure there to deliver it? Are the networks capable to handle your success and plan on success? And then are the competencies. Where do you have to do it yourself, and where do you have to get it from outside? Those 4 pillars of net readiness is one way to organize around what are the basics that need to be looked at.
And thank you for your excellent questions, but we have run out of time. We hope that you have enjoyed participating once again in this exciting multilingual and multinational program. We invite you to participate in our 10th video conference of this year's series, which will be aired on October 19, 2000, entitled Creativity and Vision, a Formula for Optimal Performance. For additional information on the year 2000 video conference series, please consult your participants manual, where you will find the dates and specific topics for each program. You may also visit our website at intectra.com, onlinecompetence.com, and distanceeducator.com. On behalf of all of us who collaborate with this International Training Center program, I thank you for your enthusiastic participation and interest in today's program. Thank you, and we'll see you again.